Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Keaton Jack. I'm your host. It's just me here in the studio at High Tech High School, WHIT Radio.org, and this is the early morning rundown. So today it's Monday. I hope you guys had a good weekend. Hopefully you got a chance to go out and see some of the movies that June had to offer. I myself got to see, a movie with my friends, specifically Fast Six, and this is a spoiler alert for all those who haven't seen the movie yet. So if you don't want to the movie to be spoiled, please do not listen. But for those who don't care, they are alluding in the end of the movie, there's an extra clip, that they might possibly be making a Fast 7. That's all I'll say. Just, so go out and see it for yourself. And on a similar thought about movies, the expected blockbuster After Earth, starring Will and Jaden Smith, actually flunked. Now, Sony, the producing company of the movie, expected that it was supposed to make $35 million before its opening weekend. But the movie only landed in $27.8 million on its opening weekend. And it brought in less money than Will Smith's Wild Wild West, which, if we all saw it, we know it was definitely a flop. So most people blame, why the movie was a flop. It looked like, the trailers made it seem like the movie was gonna be good. It was Will and his son. They always do a good job, but most blame it on the director, M. Night Shyamalan. And, everything he touches basically turns into a disaster. He directed terrible movies like Avatar: The Last Airbender, which was just, a horrific scene. But if you want to go see it, you can. That's just what, the reviews it got weren't that great. I'm sure it's still a decent movie for those who don't really care about, storylines and special effects and all that stuff. But as the summer approaches, school is ending, people take out their barbecues, and in another part of the country, an American family searches for their son, as well as the U.S. government. But it's not to bring back a family reunion. This family's son, Omar Hamami, is a wanted Islamist terrorist, and he's still active. He's barely surviving in Somalia, and there's a $5 million bounty on his head. Now, after an apparent assassination attempt on their son, the family started to talk to CNN interview about how their son grew up to be a terrorist, how their lives changed from it, all that stuff. So he's not what no one expects their kid to be a terrorist, of course. But he was, an older man. He was living the American dream. He was a fan of the Alabama football team. And after living in America for 40 years, he was born in Syria, but he lived in America for 40 years. So he's still an active terrorist, and he is on the most wanted list. And the parents are getting ridiculed for, having a son who turned out to be a terrorist. But it's not their fault. It's everyone's individual choice. But on a sports note, the summer gets hotter, and so do the Heat streak, winning against the Spurs in Game 2 of the finals. So the Heat won with a 103 to an 84 win over the San Antonio Spurs in Game 2 of the NBA Finals on Sunday. So in the third quarter, at the 3-minute 11 seconds mark, the Heat were up 30-5, and then all the way up to the 7:13 mark in the fourth quarter. So it turned the score from a 64-62 game to a 94-67 game. And it all started when Birdman and Chris Bosh, Birdman entered the game for Chris Bosh, and Ray Allen subbed in for Dwayne Wade. So we know that two of the big three weren't even, in the game to start this. So it just showed how hot the Heat played. I'm sure you all saw LeBron's amazing power block. And basically it was just, an interesting game. But Miami's biggest problem, they lost in Game 1, was that their poor three-point shooting. Now, we know that the Miami Heat lack a three-point shooter. They do have Ray Allen, but LeBron James is not, the biggest three-point shooter. Yes, he can come in clutch when he feels fit, but it's not his strong point. They went 8 for 25, which is about 32% on their three-pointers in Game 1. But in Game 2, their percentage increased for 10 for 19, which is about 50%. So on their three-pointers in games. So they stepped up. They were in Miami. And basically the Spurs' tactic for the game is to force the Heat to play outside, because we know the Heat have a lot of men who can drive in the paint. You have Dwayne Wade, the famous Euro step. You have LeBron James just being a brick wall powerhouse. So the best strategy for them to do is just to force them to play outside, because we know that the three-point percentage is not their biggest attribute to the team's shooting. So basically all they need to do as long as the Heat shoot over 36% on threes in a game, I mean, most likely they'll probably win with everything else that you combine. So this has been the 5-minute rundown. It's Monday. My name is Keaton Jack. I mean, I was obviously your host. There's no one else here in the studio. This is High Tech, WHIT Radio.org, and I'll see you guys later. Sunshine, goodbye rain. She's wearing my school ring on her chain. She's my steady, I'm her man. I'm gonna love her all I can. Days on, won't you be mine? Days on, please be mine. Gonna cruise her around the town, show everybody